the manuscript and the leather with which to bind it. I immediately placed it in a safety deposit box I keep above the workshop. There are many decisions to be made when binding a book, over and above the choice of binding material. The inlays, onlays, gilding, embossing, stitching, stamping, end papers, ex libris, boards, frontispiece, edges, headband, glue, joints, marbling slipcase, the title page, all these were choices about which the Baroness, for all the trust she invested in me, liked to be consulted before any work could begin. That evening, I opened the package to inspect it. 7 lustrous pearls tumbled out of their black velvet purse. The enclosed leather was dyed coral red. The ivory miniature was not, as is traditionally the case with Causeway-style binding, a portrait, but a stylized illustration in black ink of an open eye. Finally, I took in hand the manuscript itself. Even when specifically instructed not to read it, the most scrupulous bookbinder cannot help but accidentally glimpse certain words or phrases. In this case, the handwritten title leaped out at me. Crossings. Underneath the title was a long jumble of figures, also handwritten, seemingly without any bearing on the manuscript. It consisted of what appeared to be 3 separate documents, all written by hand in French, although one of them was significantly older than the other 2 and written in a different hand. The manuscript appeared to have had an eventful existence. Many of the pages were creased, folded over, or mottled with damp, and the paper itself was yellowing and pungent with the chocolatey, nutty aroma that old paper exhales as it decays. It took me a week to call the Baroness, a little longer than usual, and when I finally did so, a man's voice I didn't recognize answered the telephone and informed me she had very recently passed away, peacefully, in her sleep. When I inquired about the funeral, I was told it had taken place only the day before at her Belgian estate. The news so surprised me that I forgot to ask what to do about the manuscript. The book-collecting fraternity is a small circle, and news travels fast. 2 days later, as I was walking by the river along the Quai de la Tournelle, I ran into Morgane Rambouillet, a riverside bouquiniste who specializes in 19th century romances, and who I knew had counted the Baroness among her regulars. She was beside herself with excitement. According to Rambouillet, the Baroness had not died in her sleep at all. She had been murdered, and moreover her body had been found with its eyeballs missing. I shuddered when I heard this, remembering the illustrated ivory miniature that had arrived with the manuscript a week and a half earlier. I hurried home to investigate the matter online. The obituary in Le Monde repeated the version of events I'd been given over the telephone, a peaceful, somnolent death, while Le Figaro's obituary glossed over the circumstances of death altogether. The only mention of the Baroness's grisly demise was in a short report in the Belgian newspaper L'Echo, published the day after the incident. To an untrained eye, it seemed as if the details surrounding the Baroness's death had been hushed up. For days afterward, my wife and I discussed the matter. What haunted me, no less than the murder of one of the last grandes dames of Paris, was the fate of those 2 grey agate wonders, remarked upon by all those who had known her, her eyes. My father had told me that, in her youth, though not especially pretty, Beatty Ellingham had passed as a great beauty thanks to those eyes. They were the wellspring of her charm, perhaps even the key to her destiny. Her marriage to the Baron de Croy had turned out unhappily, but her eyes never lost their sparkling, feline quality. My wife, always more practical than I, considered it perfectly understandable that I'd been lied to on the telephone. "They have to think of the family's reputation," she said. "They're not going to tell every random stranger who happens to call that she was mutilated and murdered." We concluded that the Baroness must have been mixed up in some shady book business. Rare books can bring out the worst in people. Naturally, this led us to the same thought, one almost too awful to contemplate. Could the murder of the Baroness be connected somehow with the manuscript now lying in...